Everybody, welcome to another day with my channel. I'm Shannon, if you haven't joined me before. This is just a channel where I show all my hobbies and the things I like to do. So today I'm working on a project and it's this dress. Butterick pattern B6692. And there are a lot of pieces in this dress. I'm doing it, except for I'm removing the train. I'm not gonna have a train. This is for my Calamity Jane project, which is a youth production. And I don't want trains on stage because they'll trip, they'll get ripped, and it's just not safe. So I thought I filmed more of this project already. I thought I had already started filming, and I haven't. So I have got a lot started. I did a mock-up of the bodice. It's for my daughter. She plays Adelaide, and this is Adelaide's traveling suit as she leaves. And I already had done the mock-up, which was, I pretty much put the lining together, put it on her, adjusted it. It needed to be fitted more in the back, taken it apart. I'm now to the point of all the pieces are cut out. So I'm to the point of flat lining the lining to the bodice. So the top of this skirt, the jacket, is going to be pink. She doesn't want the lace that's around the collar, and then the center part is going to be a glittery lace, and then the bottom is going to be pink and yellow with some glittery yellow lace. So as I said, I've started out, I've gotten all the pieces are cut. I've now trimmed away, so it was the back that had to be fixed, so you'll see that there's a little bit extra here on the back pieces. And now I'm getting ready to flat line. So I have all the lining pieces pinned to the shirt pieces, and to flat line, I'm just going to serge around and combine the two of them together. That I think will be the easiest without causing too much issue. Though somehow the pieces did not get cut the same, because when I pin them together, they don't meet up. But I'm going to follow the lining because I know the lining fits her. And I'm just going to go on my serger and serge around all the edges of all the pieces and then get them flat lined. And then when I'm done with that, I will show you more of the construction as we go along. I am, though, with the front, there are these darts in the front. I'm going to go ahead and sew up the darts and then flat line the fronts, because I've already got that sewn on to, those are sleeves, because I already have the darts done with the front lining. So I will do that much and I will be right back. So when looking at my instructions, I figured out what I needed to cut this piece out of. And it's a facing piece. It says front facing cut 2, but it didn't really say if I cut it out of lining, if I cut it out of the base fabric. But looking at the pattern, I've decided I want to cut it out of the main fabric color. And it says cut 2. So I have a little piece right here of it. Grain line, yes. That'll work right against the selvage edge right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on. And so I went ahead and flat lined all the pieces together. And I have found, with working with this shiny fabric, after doing all the pieces, finally on like the last 2 pieces, I realized sewing with the fabric side up instead of the lining up made it a lot easier. So there's a tip for you. With this shiny fabric, make sure that when you're serging it, you serge shiny side up. And it's just a good idea with these pieces to serge them, because this fabric is not fun to work with. It just frays. Yes, it's the cheap $2 a yard. And that's probably why, because it just frays so easily. So highly recommend, if you have a serger, to serge. Just serge all the pieces as you take them off the pattern pieces. I'm not worried about sewing them all together because right now I have pieces stuck to pattern pieces because I don't want to lose them, and I haven't marked anything yet, and so I want to mark as I go. So the first step in it was to sew the underlining to the matching fabric sections. So then it says to mark all the markings. So that is my next step. I've done the darts. So now it's like lap, wrong side front overlay over right side of front overlay, lining, having raw edges even. Okay, so that means we gotta find the front pieces. With all these pieces, there's a lot of pieces. Back, back, front, front, sleeve. Okay, so sleeve, front. Trim some of these trims. And the lace overlay, I kind of wanted there to be yellow underneath, but she didn't. She just wanted the lace. So, and I'm not putting buttons in this. I'm going to do a zipper. So instead of the center front overlapping for buttons, it'll just overlap for a zipper, because there again, this is a costume and this is actually an on-stage clothing change. So she changes out of a costume into this costume on stage in a matter, there's supposed to be only 30 seconds, but there's no way she can change a dress in 30 seconds. So that's why I'm trying to get this dress hurried up and get done so we can get to practicing that scene. So here's my lacy yellow overlay. And it just says to overlay it, pin wrong side of front overlay to right side of front, matching centers and having raw edges even. Because I don't have a lining for this, because we decided we didn't want yellow underneath, so we have no lining, which might have been a mistake. Other than, is that the lining pieces I just made? No, that's facing pieces. So I didn't line it. That's all right. I might have needed to finish an edge though. I might need to line it anyways. Here's this piece. It says front overlay, cut 2 of contrast and 2 of lining. Okay, I'm going to add some yellow right here and cut this piece out of yellow. That seam has to be finished, or else it doesn't make sense. So this side needs to be finished, in my opinion. Because if it's wrong side of lining to right side of this, and sew down this line, which would be this line here, and turn and press, and then you'll have how do we do that though? How do we do that? We need right side here on right side. We need right side on right, wrong side on right side. Based all around, but then we need to tuck this under as we stitch it down. And then that's going to be top stitched over. Okay, I guess this is how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to get these two serged together. I'm going to have to get dinner made. I'm going to have to run into play practice to do a bunch of things. And then I'll come back and see how much of this I can get done tonight. I think I have this bodice part I mean, I know how to make it other than these embellishment things. Not sure how they have them being put on and then like seams covered. So this is the facing, and they don't have me put inner facing in it, so that is interesting. But I'm going to that doesn't seem right all of a sudden. So this side I'm going to turn under, and then this side will be sewn on and then flipped over to hide the seam. It's only hiding half the seam, so I'm kind of curious of how all the seams get hid. I'm worried. So I'm going to, they say to baste this top piece onto the front, and then they say to put the trim that goes right here on it, and then it says to put these onto the front. So I'm going to baste these, I'm going to put the trim on it, and I'm going to turn the one side of this over and stitch it down. And I decided, instead of trying to change threads a million times, I'm just going to use white thread and just do it with white thread. And so I'll get to the point where I need to attach these to here, and I'll show you this with the embellishment on it. This is I have two different laces I'm going to use. Actually, my daughter pulled out a third one that she wants me to try to figure out how to use. But I don't have a lot of this. I have like maybe 1.5 yards of this really tiny fine gold trim that I'm going to put on the front in as many places as I can. So I'm thinking down the side here and possibly all the way down the front. It should be enough to do that. Plus I'm doing a zipper closure instead of a buttons. So, and then I have some little lace that I found that I think I'll do some trimming on somewhere. And then my daughter pulled this out from an old costume of hers that she wants to use too. I don't know if it'll work. This was the time period where they did embellishment upon embellishment, ruffle upon ruffle. So nothing will look bad. But I'll get to that stage and then I'll show you the results. Okay, so, lost my head. Here is the front now with this sewn on. Now it says to take this trim and put it it says on outside lace trim, pin lace trim on front neckline, placing one edge 1/8 of an inch from seam line, taper to the ends of nothing at triangle and 1/2 inch below small circles as shown, based in place. So from here to here, and you baste in place. That's the next step. And then after that, they say to take this facing and put wrong one. Right sides together and sew. But I don't know. And sew down this line right here. And I don't know why it goes up here, because you're just sewing from here down. So we'll see what happens once it turns. So I'll get to that point and I'll be right back. Okay, here it is. I still don't understand this little part here, but here's the trim on it, facing put in. I don't have it sewed down because I'm going to put a zipper in and more trim, so I just decided not to add one more stitch, but it is pressed really good down. The inside is said to hand stitch it, which there again I'm going to do after I put the zipper in and everything, because otherwise it might pull funny. So I'm going to wait till after I put the zipper in and everything else is put in. The only thing I don't like is how they're putting the boning in. They're putting it in so you can actually see the stitches from the outside, which I don't know that I like. I wish I would have thought about it and put the boning in the lining. That's usually how I do it. But we'll just have to go with it because it's too late now. So next step is off to putting the back pieces. The steps are to put the back pieces together. The trim will all happen after I put it probably all together. And I might just, I'm just gonna go with it, go with the flow until I know not to. So the next part is to stitch all the back pieces together. So we have, let's see, where's this? Back. Let me put them pieces in order. Center back, so this will sew to this, and then side, which is where the armhole, this becomes the arm's eye down here. So I will pin those pieces together for both sides of the back, and then sew up the back center because there's the closures in front. So then I'll sew up also the back seam. The two backs will be seamed together. And then after I get that done, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have it all sewn into one piece. Oh, I do need to fix one thing here. I can see this stitching of the serger right here, so I need to re-sew that. And this isn't pressing very well. I think it's the cheap fabric, but it doesn't press really well. But the next step, now that I have it all, so we're sewing it into the seam allowance, so it's not going to be shown in the front. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 spots we're doing this. It's the two seams here, the side and the side back, and the 2 fronts in the dart. And we're just sewing it into the dart, which I think I could just open up the dart and stick this up in it because it's got a point, and then cut it off and re-sew the bottom. And then in the side seams, it says to just put it in where you have it sewn. So I think I could just sew down inside the seam allowance, just sew the seam allowance down, and then slide this up into it. So that's what I'm going to try to do, so it doesn't get seamed from the inside. And it says to do it on the 2 sides of the side seam and at each dart in the front. So that should be simple enough. So I'm going to close up those side seams, and then just slip this into the dart. Where I didn't open the dart up, I just left it closed. So I should just be able to unstitch a little bit of the stitching and slide it in, and then close it back up. And then on these 2 side seams, I'm just going to, I'll probably just stitch a, I don't know if that's going to be enough to stitch it closed and slide that in. I think I'll have to do a piece of bias tape there. So a piece of bias tape down and then slide that in to the bias tape. So I'm going to do that, sew up those 1, 2, 3, 4 spots with bias tape, and then open up those darts and stick them in the darts. Okay, so I have it all the boning sewn in. If you can see, the only bias tape I had was tan, but it's on the inside, so it's not going to show. And then I did a stitch all the way around, so I know where the bias tape is going to be, where I'm going to need bias tape, which I'm not really sure where that is yet. So the next step says to the flounce in the back, which is a little circle, half circle piece. If you have this pattern, it's piece number 7. So it says to sew the fabric to the lining, and then with right sides together, and turn it, clip the seams, clip the seams to turn it, and then you're going to do the pleating on the top half of it. There's a bunch of pleats. If you see in the pattern piece, there's all these, there's 1, 3 pleats right here, so it'll be a total of 6 pleats. And then turn it down, and then that goes on the back of the top. Okay, so I have that tail with the lining on it, and I'm laying it down, and then I'm going to put the pattern piece on top of it to do the markings. And I bought a new marking tool. Let's see if this works any better. Well, that's not very fun. Okay, so it's the center line to there, to there, to there, to there, to there. And I don't usually mark the dots when I do darts. I just do the top, but I'm thinking I might want to do the circles. So to mark circles, I just put a pin through the hole. And I'm just going to do the bottom circles. I'm not going to do the top circles because I did the top line. I just am going to do the bottom circles. Because it looks like you need to have the pleats all the way, and they have you sewed the pleats shut at these circles. So hope this is disappearing like it says it is, and we'll put dots. Okay, other side. Line, 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 dot, 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 dot. So I will take this top dot and match it to the bottom dot and put a pin in it. We go all the layers. definitely going to want lace on that. Come on, where's the pleat? The two sides don't want to lay the same. And then it says to show ruffle, which I'm not putting a ruffle on. I've been debating if I want to put some of the yellow sparkly stuff as the trim, but my daughter doesn't want anything that thick. We are going to put this really thin lace instead of the ruffle. So that'll go all around it. But I'm thinking I still want some of that yellow around the bottom of the flounce. So I'm going to go ahead and sew a piece of it, just under stitch or top stitch it down. Right like that. And then I'll put the lace on top of it. So I'm going to sew this onto this piece before I sew it onto the back, so all that will be included in the seam. Okay, so we have the back of the bodice, which I did trim down. We have the back of the peplum, center to center back. That should be, oops, I should take all these pins out. And I think I'm going to serge this edge first, but it's basically center to center and then just bring it all the way out and sew it down. Okay, so we have that on. Looks interesting. So this is where they have you put the ruffle on, and since I'm not putting the ruffle on, I really am not sure what to do about this edging here. Does it ever say what to do with the edging? Because the ruffle would have been out here. So I'm going to run bias tape around the top edge just to do a turn over. I don't think I'm going to have a collar on it because the collar is supposed to be part of the lace, and I'm not going to have that. So I'm just going to put bias tape around the top and do a roll under. And I should have waited to put that trim on because it's going to be in the road. So I have put bias tape all around the top and the bottom to turn that over. I will probably hand stitch that down, but I'm going to skip that step right now and just move on to other things because hand stitching takes a lot of time and I'll want to sit in front of a movie to do it, and when everybody's home, so I'm not taking up my time alone to sew. So other than maybe at the zipper, I probably won't do anymore. So the next step is to add the lace trim around. So I'm going to add the lace trim, and I'm going to add it where it sits. So I'm going to add it right here along this bunch of serging, and then it's supposed to go up the serge line and then around the neck, so we'll go all the way around the neck, and then drop back down over on this side of the other side of the facing, and then it's supposed to cover all the way around the bottom of the shirt, and then along the bottom of the tail, and I might put it also along here, and then at the same time I'll end up sewing down the bias tape, and then I won't have to be doing it twice, other than there's some parts where the boning is that's kind of in the way. I might have to move the boning up a little out of the way because it's kind of in the way, but I can take it off at the top and take it out because it's also going to be right there where the sleeves go. So I'm going to pin that up and around and sew it down. I might even sew it in a multiple different, I don't know. I'm not going to put any there, but I am going to put it out here and then all the way around the bottoms. And I have 2 5-yard strips, so hopefully that's enough, and I will come back. Okay, so I've got all the trim on. So the lace is here, there's gold trim here, there's lace all down here at this little tail thing, all around it. The markings have not worn off yet. It's worrying me. But that's where we're at. So next is sleeves and setting sleeves in. So let's put this on Jane, shall we? Here, I'll turn you so you can see Jane. We're gonna bring Jane over. If you look at her, this side's a little bit longer, and down here at the point it's a little bit longer. I was trying not to do that, but if I do an overlap a little with the zipper, I think that'll be good. It's a disconnecting zipper like you have in a jacket, but I think that'll look good. So there's the top. Now I'm going to work on the sleeves. I'll put the sleeves in and then I'll fiddle with what I want to do with the zipper. But for right now, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with how it is. I'm just going to do the sleeve. So 2-piece sleeve. So we have piece 1 and piece 2. And you just take and you sew up the two seams together. Why do they not line up? Hate when that happens. Do I want them to line up at the bottom? Or did I do it backwards? And this side's supposed to go over here. No. Okay, I'm going to line it up so it's at the bottom. So the bottoms match. And then if the armholes don't match, it's not that big of a deal. Because I can slough more there than I can when it's not matching up at the bottom. I have to look at it to see what the cuff is, because I feel like there needs to be some of either this gold, yellow, so one thing I learned when I was doing this, let me turn her around. When I was sewing this part here, is this yellow stuff frays way more than I thought it would. I thought I could just like not hem it or anything, but it frayed a lot. And so therefore I feel like, did I curl my hair today? I don't feel like I did my hair today. I feel like I'm gonna have to do it differently on each of the ruffles, and so I'll have to decide how I'm going to do that. Okay, I'm gonna pin both the sleeves, get them both sewn, and I will be back. So the bodice is done. Oh my goodness. Took a lot longer than I thought it would. All the trim work, not perfect by any means. Definitely learned this is the wrong kind of fabric for this kind of project, but it is done, and for play it is good enough. So I do want to press this down maybe a little bit more. Maybe I'll even sew those pleats up, because I think it'll lay better. But that's not going to be something until after dress rehearsal, if it really drives me crazy. I could bring it home and sew the pleats closed. But for right now, it is on the mannequin. It looks fine. Looks much better on my daughter. The mannequin's not the best, but the bodice is done. Now for the front skirt.